Now let's explore the society of Roman civilization. Pre-Romans were divided into two groups, patricians and plebeians. The patricians were the wealthy landowners who held most of the power. On the other hand, the plebeians were the common farmers, artisans, merchants, and they made up the majority of the population. They were forced to pay heavy taxes and forced to serve in the army in the time of war. The patricians inherited their power and social status. They claimed that their ancestry gave them the authority to make laws for Rome. The plebeians were citizens of Rome with the right to vote, but they cannot make laws for Rome. In addition to that, the plebeians were barred by law from holding important positions in the government. Another problem was that Roman laws were unwritten. Since laws were not documented, the patrician officials often interpreted the law which was suitable for themselves. This gave the patricians the opportunity to exploit the plebeians. They were also victims of discriminatory decisions in the court trials. The plebeians did not even know what legal rights they were supposed to enjoy. That's why the plebeians demanded the laws to be documented. Ultimately, plebeians revolted in the beginning of the 5th century BC. They threatened the patricians that if their rights were not recognized, they would leave Rome and migrate on the mountains, and then patricians would have to do all the works for themselves. After a long struggle between the two groups, plebeians gained their first victory about 494 BC, when they forced the patricians to agree to allow the plebeians to form their own assembly and to elect representatives called tribunes. These tribunes protected the rights of the plebeians from unfair laws of patrician officials. The demand of the codification of laws was finally met in 551 BC. A group of 10 officials began writing down Rome's law. The laws were carved on 12 bronze tablets and hung in the forum. They became the basis of later Roman law. After the establishment of the 12 bronze tablets, all the free citizens came under the protection of the law. Slavery was another significant part of Roman life. It was widespread and important to the Roman economy. Slaves were nearly 40% of the population. They were treated as private property. The Romans made more use of slaves than any other civilization. Numbers of slaves may have reached as high as one-third of the population. Most slaves were conquered peoples, brought back by victorious Roman armies, and included men, women, and children. Roman society was patriarchal. Women had limited rights. Romans adopted a traditional view of gender roles, in which women were responsible for household chores and men represented the family in the public life. Women were expected to be obedient to their fathers and husbands, and they were expected to stay at home. Under Roman law, women passed from authority of their father to their husbands. There was generally more equality in Roman society than there had been in the earlier Greek society. Romans placed a high value on marriage, home, and the family. This strongly influenced their treatment of women. Women could own property and make wills. Among the lower classes, many women worked outside home. During the time of the empire, wealth and social status made huge differences in how people lived. Classes had little in common. Most people in the Roman Empire lived in the countryside and worked on farms. In Rome and smaller cities, merchants, soldiers, slaves, foreigners, and philosophers all shared the crowded, noisy streets. People from all walks of life came together to create a diverse society. This picture is depicting the patrician dinner party. The rich lived extravagantly. They spent large sums of money on homes, gardens, slaves, and luxuries. they gave banquets or dinner party that lasted for many hours and included foods that were rare and costly, such as boiled ostrich and parrot tongue pie. Here you can see that the patrician men and women are lying on their stomach, eating and chatting with each other while the slaves are entertaining them and serving them drinks. However, most people in Rome barely had the necessities of life. During the time of the empire, much of the city's population was unemployed. The government supported these people with daily rations of grain. In the shadows of Rome's great temples and public buildings, poor people crowded into unsteady, sprawling houses.